thank you, KingMakers IAS.
I'm happy.
Okay.
I wish you
Thank
the
you, sir.
best.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hi, I would really like to thank Mr. D.P. Agarwal sir for helping me and guiding me in the interview stage. So thank you, KingMakers IAS, because these interactions were very helpful in finding the direction. Thank you, KingMakers IAS.
I have a small presentations for aspirants. I guess many will be beginners, preparing for the exam first time and mainly history. So I have a presentation so that they don't feel first of all bored, and at the same time I can also in a organized way I can tell them what is history as an optional for UPSC, how to prepare books and such things. So this is about the approach to how to prepare history for UPSC. See, the preparation for history for UPSC is slightly different. It is not like if you are you just take history textbook, any history textbook, and start reading. Because in this exam, you have to be time bound, and your strategy should be right from the beginning. So that is the reason, there is a difference you have to make of history preparation for UPSC and history preparation for the academics. So academics is totally a no here. You can't go take that approach. Even if you have graduated in history, still your approach should be different, right? Now for the beginners, there is one problem of choosing your optional. So whether to take history or not, the main issue that everybody feels, one second. So one of the issue that before choosing a history or just thinking of history subject, the two issues that everybody has in their mind is that it's too lengthy and there's too much of data, too much of content. So that is that is the main issue, or that is a point they want to they are confused whether to take history or not. But let me tell you here is that UPSC every subject syllabus you have to study in a comprehensive way, in a detailed way. So history is not exceptional. Like any other subject, sociology, anthropology, or any humanities subjects. So everything is in detail. You have to study in detail. Similarly, in history also, it is comprehensively you have to study. And another thing is that if you study history from the beginning in a comprehensive way, so it will be easy for you to prepare for a prelims, because in prelims, mainly fact-based questions are asked, factual questions are asked. And once you have prepared your prelims of history, it becomes easy for you to study for a mains, because then you don't have to study too much of facts. Then you have to just think of analysis. But if you like in mains, that where the descriptive questions are answered, you have to write in a descriptive way. So there, these facts will become easy to support your point of view instead of going into generalization. For example, 1757, that date, Battle of Plassey. So if a question comes on Battle of Plassey, you just can't, you can describe about the Battle of Plassey. But if you have already studied that date, so if you write that date, so it supports your viewpoint, right? So these are the two issues. So just want to make it clear, don't worry about these issues. It's it's like any other subject. History is also there. You have to study everything in detail. Now, history is a very popular option. If you have seen um, toppers of last 10 years, or even people who have cleared CSE exam, you find that history is still a popular option among the 10 options of humanities. So the reason is that it is very straightforward subject. You take any history book and its narrative is very straightforward. You can enjoy the narrative in whatever way you want, whether you can read through dates, date wise, you can start your studies, or like a story like reading, you can opt for. Secondly, is that like it's unlike any other subject like sociology, political science, or anthropology. Here, you don't have to study mind-boggling theories like Marxism or any other thing. So you don't have to worry about that. So it's just a narrative that you have to study. And generally, you don't have to like study up-to-date content. Like even if you see, take a like before independence, any history book like V.A. Smith or anything, the narrative is more or less the same. The chronologies are same, events, periods, everything is there. So it's not too much of updated versions. It is required, but like it's any general book, if you take, whether it is out of print or in the print latest edition, uh, content is most of the time is same. So that is why history is popular among the UPSC aspirants. Now, there is a lot of benefits of taking history as an optional, unlike any other subject. And the major benefit of taking history as an optional is that its syllabus overlaps with other general studies syllabus, other general studies paper. That is a fact. So, for example, in prelims, general studies paper 1, approximately 12 to 22 questions are asked, mainly from Indian culture, history of India, or national movement. So that is in the prelims itself, your preparation is done. Second is in mains, GS1, there also the syllabus is repeating, plus world history. So GS1 paper, you have Indian heritage and culture, modern Indian history, and plus world history. In optional paper also the syllabus is repeating. That is paper 1 and 2, you have ancient medieval, and paper 3, you have modern India and world history. So now you can see like 90% of the history preparation is covered in prelims itself. Only 10 to 20, that is world history, is remaining, and other like analysis based reading. So that is only required in mains. So that is the benefit of taking history. Like you can see like in prelims you have history GS1, mains you have an optional, that the same entire, the syllabus almost is same. So that is why history is beneficial. You can opt for history because it's from the beginning your preparation is done and its syllabus overlaps with the other GS paper. So this is the history syllabus you have for UPSC, like Indian history. In prelims and mains, you have to study ancient, medieval, modern, and Indian art and heritage. In only in mains you have an extra paper, that is world history. It's a comparatively small syllabus, that is from 15th century, 20th century, but still you have to understand or read the basics of world history. So this is the advantage of taking history as a subject optional. Now there are some tips for preparing the history. You have your own tips, but these are the general standard tips. If you follow this way, you can complete your history syllabus or history reading in 4 months. So the first thing is that don't go with very complicated or bulky books. Go start with your readings with simple textbooks, simple basic books, any simple books. Generally, it is NCERT books that is recommended, but you can start with any simple basic book, whichever in your own language, if you are writing in your own language, and then complete your one reading of entire history syllabus. After your first reading is over of basic books, then only you switch to advanced level books. And then second point is that you prepare according to the weightage given to the topics. So generally modern Indian history is having more weightage than the ancient and medieval. And ancient and medieval also focus only on art, culture, architecture, philosophy, heritage. The political history and economic history. Economic history also is questions are asked, but generally the weightage is less. It's mainly on art and heritage. So this is one tip you can go for. The second is that you can start with an integrated approach, in a sense like you can select any topic of history, and then one's main topic of history, and then once you have selected any main topic, then the other topics automatically get covered, because in history every general content is interlinked and interconnected. Like example, 1857 revolt, so 19th century. So if you take a 1857 revolt, so once you prepare, that is a major topic. So along with that, the entire 19th century Indian history or major topics get covered. Understand? So 1857, you have to study the causes. Within the causes, you have to cover all the political, social, economic, these things. So entire 19th century get covered. So that is also another approach you can start with. Like if you are not going with the from the beginning to the end. So within from the middle also you can start your preparation. Like this is the example. This is the main topic. 1905 Bengal partition. If you have taken this as a main topic, so automatically the other subtopics like Swadeshi and boycott movement, revolutionaries, extremist and modern, Congress Spirit Act of 9. So all the events get covered. So this way, like this is an integrated approach. You can start with this also. Yes. So whenever you are preparing for history, just don't stick to textbooks or any books. You have to separately prepare according to the use charts, maps, timelines to remember dates. History. The exception is that you have to study important dates. You have to remember periods, centuries, sequence of events. So it is always like, if you study your textbook along with the maps and charts or have timelines, so it will be easy for you. And at the same time, your preparation for the historical map also will be done, because the first questions in mains paper, it is always map location. You have to locate uh, things on the map, extent or places, sites, street routes. So that also you have to, that work also you have to do along with your readings. So don't forget these charts and maps and timelines. Most important thing is that whenever you are starting the preparations, every day you have to do the revision and your recap. That's the most important thing. Start your note making day one itself, in whatever form you want to write in notebook, and your diagrams and charts, and remain time bound. You have to stick to your time, your deadlines. Then only that entire history syllabus can be covered. You will be through with the preparation of history within 4 months. It's a guarantee. So this is a systematic way you have to study. So this is the revisions, recap, writing notes. All these things should be done day-to-day basis. So this is the systematic, this is the most important thing that you have to remember. Even if you have completed your readings, everything, still this is important. So this is the simultaneously you have to follow this activity. Right, these are some of the tips that I wanted to share you. Now regarding the books, so there are like, these are the standard books, these are the entry books you can see, or the basic level books that you can start with. So read both NCERT old and new books, right from class 6 to 12. Right, so remember the technique of whenever you are completing a chapter, uh, start your notes from there, start writing your notes, right? So both NCERT old and new. So difference between new and old and new is that the old NCERT books is full of content. It's a very good content. but less pictures, less like illustrations. A new one, NCRTs are theme based. That are also very interesting way of interesting narrative. So you can, whichever way you are convenient, you can start that way. The next is Tamil Nadu history books are also very helpful books, especially for art and culture. It's very useful books. So don't you can start either in a NCRT or Tamil Nadu. You can start either of this way. And the third most popular book, students can bypass NCRT, Tamil Nadu, and they can start with a brief history of modern India. There is Rajiv Ahir's Spectrum book. It's the most popular, still very popular because very simple, straightforward written book. So this book also you can be used as entry level book and continue for your mains also. And the next is IGNOU material, history material. So this I recommend only for students who have completed their basic reading or who are graduates from history. For them, these IGNOU material, history materials are very helpful, but still like no appears a bit tough for the beginners. Right. So these are the entry level books. You start your preparation with these books, any of these books. Now, for the recommended books, don't go for bulky books or don't read too much of content or too many books, right? So there are certain recommended books, 5 to 6 books. If your basic studies completed, so for the advanced, if you want to, for your mains, if you want to study, so like history of ancient and early medieval from Stone Age to 12th century by Professor Upendra Singh is very helpful. Your entire history, ancient and medieval history is covered in a very systematic way. This book is written in a very simple language. This book is written. So you can either opt for this book or you can start from R.S. Sharma's Ancient India Past. And like R.S. Sharma, Satish Chandra and Vipan Chandra, these authors you will be reading in your NCRT books, Ancient India, Medieval India, and Modern India. So for the advanced, you can advanced studies like India's Struggle for Independence by Vipan Chandra is a very helpful book where in-depth uh, uh, in-depth reading of India's freedom struggle is given. Similarly, Satish Chandra's Medieval India, 1,000 years of Indian history of is covered in Satish Chandra. Similarly, R.S. Sharma's Ancient India Past is also very helpful. Or you can skip these books and you can stick on to any other book which you find it very helpful. For example, Shekhar Bandyopadhyay's From Plastic to Partition is also a very useful book. If you don't have time for completing Vipan Chandra, you can go for this book. So these two books, like a history of like Professor Upendra Singh's book for ancient and medieval, and Shekhar Bandyopadhyay's book for modern. These two books also you can keep for your mains preparation. Next, very important books for Indian art and culture is Nitin Singhania. It's a very useful book, very interesting book for Indian art and culture. This book you can refer. Of course, for world history, the only standard book available is Norman Lowe's book, Mastering World History. Um, you can also refer Arjun Dev's book. So, like, no, for world history, you can mainly you can study notes from your academy or your lectures. That much is, I think, sufficient. So these are the recommended books from my side, and also everybody they recommend these books. So don't go for many books for your studies because since you will be not having that much of time. You have already through with your syllabus of Indian history and world mainly Indian history in your prelims. So only very less time is available for your mains. So go for select 2 or 3 books, not bulky book. In a very the language should be very easy and straightforward. So that way you can cover your mains syllabus. These are some of my books. Like for example, this Concise History of Modern India is still a popular book. It's like a Spectrum book. in a very easy way, in a very concise way. Every topic is covered. You can check online whether it's available, hard copy is available. Otherwise, the PDF version is still there. So this is my latest book of history of modern India, in which I have tried to explain every event in a graphical manner through charts and maps and through diagrams. So that it becomes easy for the aspirant to understand the things in a quick way. This is the medieval India. Here, every topic I have covered in a very small way, but in a very simple way. This world history, so is the new edition I'll be working on. So these are some of my books, like you can go through. So like, no, this is what I wanted to share with you for students. Whenever I'll be taking my sessions, so for every session, after completing the session, I'll be discussing past 10 years questions on the topic. For example, if I'm taking the topic of conquest of Bengal, so the past 10 years, whatever questions related to conquest of Bengal is available. So we'll be discussing on that, so that too much of after the session or after your completing your studies, you don't have to too much look for answers here and there. Right. So this is what I wanted to share with you.
Madam, some more information. Just they wanted to know what kind of strategy one should adopt for history for prelims exam. With respect to the prelims, what kind of reference
Yes.
books to refer, and what could be the strategy, and what should be the approach for history?
See, for prelims, generally facts-based questions are asked. That has been the convention all these years. It could be analysis also, but facts, data-based questions are generally asked. So what I suggest is that after try to gather as much as data as possible, as much as facts possible. So chronology study is very important for you. Like if you see my book, Concise History of India, or the latest book of modern India, so at the end of that, there's an appendix of chronology, right from the beginning, where all the events are date-wise, it is covered. So try to remember the dates first. So in a chronology way, right from like for instance, modern India, so Vasco da Gama, coming of the Vasco da Gama, the date, that event and the date. So that way you should start your prelims exam preparation. So once your reading is done, one basic reading of Indian history is done, then focus on the sequence of chronology or the dates, sequence of events. Like first, first is like we have to study the how the which European company came first, and like where they established their ports and headquarters. That way, that sequence, that is what I mean by sequence. So sequence, chronology or sequence of events or the charts is very important. You can't miss any facts. So fact-based study is very important, right? So for prelims, so you have to study anything under the sun in history. Too much of description, you don't have to focus here right now in prelims. That is for late. For example, if you're national movement, if you're studying, so you don't have to focus too much on analysis of that. Gandhian analysis, Gandhian philosophy and all. But the fact within the philosophy, that you have to focus on, right? So that is what I recommend, that fact-based history study is important at prelims. Because finally, too much of factual questions are asked in a twisted form, in a tricky form, but it is a fact-based questions.
Whether should they approach separately for whether do they have any separate approach for ancient, medieval, or modern, something like that, or any combined approach, or what kind of resources they should refer?
That is for ancient and medieval?
Yes, madam.
Right. So for ancient, after your prelims is, if you are through with your prelims, which is fact-based preparation, Then for ancient and medieval, generally the questions are focused on art, culture, philosophy, heritage, right? So not too much on political events, not too much on like no on the systems. So you have to focus on that. For example, Indus Valley culture. So cultural part is more focused there. Uh, the archaeological part is more focused than Vedic culture. So that its focus is in medieval Bhakti movement, for example, Sufi movement. So that philosophical part of that movement. So not too much on facts here. So this is how, like, mainly it is art, culture, and heritage which is more focused. So Nitin Singhania book is very helpful for you when you are preparing for ancient and medieval.
Fine, madam. Can you please suggest that what are the areas that they should focus with respect to the prelims, particularly because there are so much to read in history, but repeatedly they are asking the questions in one particular area. For example, Mauryan architecture, Guptas, and even in the medieval India like Mughals or something like that. Can you please give some ideas about it?
Yes. So as I said, uh, ancient and medieval, you have to just focus on art and culture and heritage, archaeology. So don't read too much of detailed textbooks on ancient medieval. I think the lectures on ancient medieval will be sufficient, where everything is taught in all the syllabus wise, and everything political, economic part of that. But then focus on architecture, art. For example, in ancient, the archaeology part of Indus Valley civilization, the art part of Indus Valley civilization. So that has to be focused, but not the the political economic aspect of Indus Valley civilization. For example, the where they traded or the maritime stations, all these things that you can study, but focus will be on archaeology part of Indus Valley civilization, or on its the artifacts or the art form of civilization. Similarly, in Vedic period, the philosophical focus should be more Rig Veda, the philosophy part, or you should know the text of Vedic text, scriptures. In medieval, like Cholas is very important topic. Every time some questions on Chola art and architecture appears, so that you can't miss. So Chola architecture or Hoysala architecture, all the uh, like no North India architecture style, South Indian architecture style. That is one part of that. Then the philosophical various philosophical schools that developed in ancient period, right? So very darshanas, all the philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, Jain philosophy, Hindu, of course, is there. So that is most important part. So that's what you have to focus on for ancient and medieval. Like for example, I can suggest you can have a syllabus like Indus culture syllabus. Then you have a Vedic period culture. Within that, everything is covered. Then you have a Mauryan culture, like Mauryan period. In that admin part, you don't have to too much focus on. But in Mauryan period, you have to focus on the religious development, Buddhist development that happens, how the Buddhism spread in various parts of across the country and outside India. And mainly the Ashoka edicts. That is one the remains archaeological part of Mauryan period. Then you have a Gupta period, where also you have to focus on art, architecture, because that lot of development took place. Then afterwards, a post-Gupta period. Of course, there is not too much of you have to study in post-Gupta period, but then you come to 10th and 12th century, where Chola art and architecture is there. So that way, like no, this will be the syllabus, or this will be the main topics you have to cover. Rest everything, I think when we are teaching you that ancient and medieval will be covered, that will be sufficient for you.
Yes, madam. Madam, this question is with respect to the optional subject. Actually, there is a common opinion that it is very difficult to score 300 plus marks in the history optional. What is your opinion about this, and what would you like to say to the aspirants, madam?
I don't know like what highest score. I think it is 55 only. That is the UPSC examination scrutiny is very tough. That is, it's just not in history but in other subjects also. So only thing that I can say is that you should be in the prelims, for example, sorry, in mains, you should be capable enough to write in an analysis way. Your description should be more of analysis based. It should not be like factual based. For example, national movement, if it is asked, question on national movement, for example, on civil disobedience movement. So there you just can't write the points of civil disobedience movement, or you have to put your own opinions supported with facts.
Yes.
So in mains, you should be in that stage where you can analyze any event in your own way, or you should be you should have read books of where you can make analysis in a proper way, if not your own analysis. But you should be well read by this time, so that you know, like for example, if a question is asked on Chori Chora Act, like just now we had a centenary, so it should
Yes,
not be
madam.
like,
Sure, I have one question.
yeah,
See,
Chori Chora Act question.
madam, sometimes there are some questions in the history which are related with the current affairs, because the students, they give importance to other subjects for the current affairs, but they are not giving importance to the history related current affairs. So to what kind of information that they should look forward for the history related current affairs?
Yes, that's very important. As I said, history is, though it is generally considered as a fixed subject or it's a static subject, but it is, don't be like, no, don't misunderstand that. Of course, the major chronology is same, but then the subjects always get updated. So you should be always read the updated version of the subject. The Chori Chora Act, for example, now we are celebrating centenaries. Many centenaries are coming, historical centenaries are coming. Like, for example, Russian Revolution centenary happened here. So that is current affairs. So historical current affairs, you should be always keep it in mind and always remain updated on historical current affairs, and also your own analysis. So that current affairs history is not separated from the current affairs. Understand? It is interlinked. So whenever you appear like preparing for a current affairs, always integrate history into your study. Right. For example, national movement, now we will be many events of the national movement centenaries are coming up. So that is a current affairs. So you by in mains, the thing is that you should be thorough with your studies of your history. At the same time, you should be having capable of writing the opinion on that subject, or you should quote historians' opinions on the subject of current affairs or history related current affairs. I think I'm clear here.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Madam, with respect to the timeline, the student, they find it very difficult. So please kindly give some inputs to remember some of the facts, because that is the one area where most of the students, they find it very difficult. So
Yes.
is there any tactics or tricks which are available to remember all the facts, because you are the historian and the best resource persons to remember any events? But the normal student, they find it very difficult to recollect certain facts. So how to remember the facts, particularly with respect to the history?
Yes. So for facts, as I mentioned, like
Particularly timeline,
one of my book,
chronology. Yeah.
Concise history of modern India or the latest book of modern India, so at the end you have a chronology of all the facts, right from the beginning till the end, till 1947 or beyond that. That is one way. But you can't just start your history study with just starting with your facts. First, you have to understand the entire Indian history, one narrative of Indian history, how it started. Indian, the whole one reading, once you're through with that, once you have completed your one reading of Indian history, then for remembering the dates, you can use any chart, chronology, any, I think the late, all the writers nowadays who are writing for UPSC, they use as a chronology as the appendix. I have also used it. Study that chronology. If remember, you can use your own tactics. You can either memorize it, by heart it, or keep on referring that chronology when you're studying for your history, right? So first you complete your one reading of history study from very simple book, and then you keep looking at the historical events or the chronology of Indian history events. So that is one way of remembering the dates. And of course, keep writing, keep preparing the notes. If you're first you start with a chronology for modern Indian history, 1757, 1857, 1947, these three major dates. Within that, you add more dates once if you have completed one topic, and within that, that way topic-wise topic, you can date-wise you can study. So that is one way I can suggest. You will be having your own way of remembering the dates and chronology. Here at this stage, I just also want to mention here that don't give too much of focus on those dates which are not that important. Understand? You don't have to remember the dates of rulers, for example. Only some specific ruler or very important ruler, for example, Akbar is there, or Ashoka, like only some 2-3 major personalities. You have to remember the dates. Mahatma Gandhi, for example, you have to remember some personalities dates. You have to remember. Otherwise, only major events, those events which are having some has changed the course of history, like for example some battles, Panipat battles, that has changed the course of Indian history. Only those events you have to remember, the dates of those events you have to remember, and personalities.
Yes, madam. And this is with respect to the presentation. For example, in the geography and other subjects, they can use some kind of graphs and diagrams and some kind of flow charts, all those things. But how to present in the history, madam, as an examiner, as an evaluator, what kind of information that you look for, particularly while you are evaluating the history papers?
That is for the maps, in the maps.
Mains. What kind of things you are looking for in the presentation, the presentation format? What kind of presentation you are looking for?
That is when you are writing the answer.
Yes, madam. Like a paragraph wise, or it should be like a point wise, particularly for history. Yeah.
So one thing is that your fact should be very right. If it's a fact-based question, for example, Chori Chora Act, Chori Chora event. So your event, if you are mentioning a date, your date should be, it should not be like some other date you should write. Your date should be very right. Your facts, one thing is very important. The description of that event should be is right. And the third is your analysis. In that analysis, you should not be biased. Your analysis should be right. Right? For example, Chori Chora, if I mentioned, or for example, Khilafat movement, where Khilafat movement, or Mahatma Gandhi, you just can't, you have a critical appreciation, but you just can't abuse a personality or your own unbiased opinion. You should not bring here.
There are different opinions even among the historians on various events. So
yes.
How an aspirant that they should perceive it and how they should respond.
Yes. So there you should be very careful. If your right, a question comes on Mahatma Gandhi. Remember, you're writing a UPSC exam. That is a totally a government, central government positions you are writing.
Even for example, for 1857, there are different opinions.
Yes. So for example, 1857, you have a different opinions. So you have opinion of Marxist approach also is there, nationalist also there. You can mention everybody's along with the authors, that is historians, Marxist approach, who brought in and all. You can write it down. Nationalist approach, who brought it. Like for example, Majumdar, historian, is there. So he's a nationalist historian. You can bring his own or his opinion. You can mention. It's not necessary that you have to write your own personal opinion. You can mention the opinions of various authors, historians, scholars. That is the last, when you are writing a descriptive essay of mains. One is the fact, second is the description of the event, third is the opinion. So here, it is better that you mention the opinions of various scholars. So in that way, it will be like neutral and unbiased, and this is the way you can develop your essay in a better way. 1857 revolt, like you mentioned about in a brief 2 to 3 lines about the revolt, and when suppose the analysis is coming, so then you can say that it is having everybody has judged or has viewed this event in a different perspective. So this is a national perspective, there is a Marxist perspective, there is a like no imperialist perspective is there, right? So this perspective you can mention. So that is sufficient for writing. There it's a well written answer for, but you just can't have your own opinion without any support. If you're writing your own personal opinion, well supported, quite convincing, then it's well and good, right?
Yes, madam. Madam, there are so many textbooks which are available even in the NCERTs for the history. Old NCERT, new NCERTs. Some will recommend old NCERT, some will recommend new NCERTs. Some will recommend from 6 to +2. Some will recommend 9 to +2. What is, in your opinion, that what are the textbooks they should refer, and whether through old or new or as a combined approach? Please suggest in this.
Yes, for as far as NCERT is concerned, so actually, personally, I feel old NCERT books are quite relevant, because here you mean you are not doing any academic studies, you are just focusing for this exam, so it should be straightforward, so without wasting too much of time. So it is a straightforward written books, NCERT books, and you can start your studies from right from 6th standard, because 6th standard old NCERT books are quite easy, and then by the 10th standard or 11th standard comes, then it becomes little not complicated, but then the content increases of that. That is, it becomes a little bulky for you. Now, as far as new NCERT books, these books are also quite good, but the approach is very different here. Here it is theme-based approach. Like for example, one culture they have taken. For example, there is about the Birsa Munda movement, tribal movement. There is a tribal movement. They want to take the theme of that tribal movement. In that they want to focus on the personality of Birsa Munda. That is one thing. So here, what in the new NCERT book is that you don't have a straightforward content here, right? And a lot of illustrations. So that is mainly for engaging the students for the study of history. So it is your choice. But I personally recommend that all NCERT books are still quite useful because it's the chronology wise it is written, it is straightforward, very less illustration. So you don't get too much of deviated into that illustration. But just like it is finally it is up to your choice. Yes, you can start your studies right from the 6th standard textbook, and then that way you can step by step you can your knowledge, your information about the history increases. You just suddenly, if you start your 10th standard, that becomes it start becoming complicated to you, and also like boring if you're starting with the old NCERT. Then similarly, Tamil Nadu textbooks are also very useful books, very interesting books, especially when you're focusing for ancient and medieval. art and architecture. These are the only books I think I recommend for you when you are focusing on ancient and medieval India. Yes, IGNOU material will be complicated for you, though these are well written history material. But nowadays, like majority of these aspirants, they find it very tough to understand. You can start IGNOU material for your mains preparation. If you don't want to study any books, Vipan Chandra, Satish Chandra, or anybody, if you don't want to study, you just IGNOU material will be sufficient for your main studies.
Yes, madam. Because those who are preparing for the optional, they used to refer A. Basham, Rumila Thakur, Majumdar, Grover. But those who are preparing for general studies, normally they wanted to refer the NCERT textbooks, and apart from that, they wanted to have the class notes. And most probably, in case if you are suggesting some kind of shortcut, then they will be very happy to have it. So this is how most of the aspirants, they'll be looking forward. So anyway, madam, you have shared excellent information, both for the prelims as well as for the mains, not only for the general studies, but also for choosing the optional as a history. So I'm sure those who have attended this session, you would have got the clear-cut idea of approaching the Indian history for the UPSC civil service examinations. Madam has clearly told you that you are not preparing for something like a kind of research or something like that, and you should focus on clearing these examinations. So you have to focus only on limited resources which are relevant for these examinations. So that is what madam has insisted upon it. And madam profile, just once again, I would like to know from your side, madam, so that our students, they will come to know about your profile, madam. Can you please share some of your experience in the academic segment?
Okay, so I have done my MPhil PhD in history from the Department of History, Maharaja Sayaji Rao University, Baroda. And I cleared my NET exam and I was inducted as a full-time faculty there, where I worked as a history faculty for, I think, 5 years. Then I was in Baroda. Then I moved to Ahmedabad. So there I got Indian Council of Historical Research Fellowship, Young Fellowship from New Delhi, and for my data collection for my PhD. And then for a short period, I also worked as an academic coordinator in Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, in the area of communication. I also worked in one renowned NGO called Seva, Ila Bhatt. There also you have to remember the historical is fact. Ila Bhatt, she's a famous personality who started this amazing NGO, Seva, where I was also a consultant. Then there is a university, private university, Nirma University, where they have a department of law where I taught history for 2 years to law students. Then I was interested in oral history. So I got an opportunity, one US-based NGO, that time it was known Arise Free India. So they were documenting the narratives of living freedom fighters of India, UK, and USA. So I became a advisor for Gujarat-based, like for this NGO. So I documented the narratives of living freedom fighters of Baroda and Ahmedabad. So there I worked for some couple of years. Then Ahmedabad itself, there was that time that craze for UPSC started in Ahmedabad. You know, in Gujarat earlier that interest was not there. But then there is a government institution, Sardar Patel Institute of Administration. So they started these classes for UPSC. So I was made a faculty there. So I started teaching there for UPSC aspirants. And then simultaneously, there was another university came up, that Pandit Deen Dayal Energy University. So they also were having their own centers. So there also I was teaching. So in these both the places for 5 years, I think I taught history, modern Indian history and world history, and also ancient and medieval, and simultaneously publishing book. And then I'm here in Delhi now for past 2 years. So I'm still writing the books for UPSC students, and also like visiting also to some of the colleges here in Delhi. So this is my my small appraisal.
Madam, it's not a small, madam, it's a very, very big achievements. Our students are really blessed to have such a great scholar to teach history. So students, on behalf of the Academy, now I take this opportunity to thank Madam for spending your valuable time and for your great association to build a great bureaucrats for building our nation, Madam. Thank you so much, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.